What's up, Lorehounds? Patrick Mulhern. It's Koopa here in PAX East once again. I'm here with Jason Coleman, the president of Sparky Pants. So we are here to talk about Dropzone, but really quick, this new sci-fi RTS from you guys is not really your first thing. So let's talk about Sparky Pants just a little bit. So where did you guys start? What's the pedigree you've got going on?
So our roots are really from Big Huge Games, particularly from the RTS days. I was one of the founders there. We have a lot of the core team leads that developed the RTS, like Rise of Nations and Rise of Legends at Big Huge. And so after we left Big Huge, we started doing other stuff, but we all came back together and said, hey, this is this new project that we think would be really cool.
You just got bored with the other stuff and you're like, let's do RTS again.
Well, it was more just an opportunity because we have a huge passion for RTS, but none of us were playing them anymore. And we said, why not? And so what was the game that we would make, that we would play, that would be an RTS? And that's what Dropzone is. So
is the idea for Dropzone that you guys are almost rebooting the RTS genre?
I've started to think of it as an RTS deconstructed. So we basically took apart all the different pieces of an RTS from a design perspective and then put them back together and sort of suited them to the way we want to play now. So we wanted something with a fixed time limit that we knew we could get in during the day, that we could still play. We wanted something that we could jump into very quickly without a lot of prelude of all the build-up that you do in a traditional RTS. And then we built around that to make the experience happen.
Yeah, and I think the number one thing people playing this game here at PAX East or PAX West will see is that there's no base building. So that's obviously a huge mechanic that we're used to in RTSs. Was that a conscious decision as where game design has gone, or our attention span, all the above?
So from a design perspective, we think of RTSs as the real resource of the player's attention span. And we said, in traditional RTS, you've got your base building, then you've got your armies, and you're going back and forth between those two places all the time. And it's difficult to do them both really well.
What about you,
and we said, well, that's cool, but there's a lot of time spent in that base building. What if we stripped all that out and we could get this down to a tighter time limit? How would we replace it? And the way we do that is we give you 3 heroes that you really care about. And so by doing that, you've got to take them and you want to split them apart in various ways to do it really efficiently, and you got to care about all of them. And that gives you that feel of an RTS, even though when people look at it, they don't believe it. But when they play it, they're like, oh yeah, this is like a StarCraft type feel.
So there's a little bit, and I know you may hate this comparison, a little bit of a MOBA feel there, because we were playing in the PvP map 1v1, and I'm killing some creep, and then I'm attacking my opponent, and leveling up those 3 characters. So instead of the base building aspect, which is core to an RTS from years gone by, I was really just honing in on the 2 things I was doing. Is that a comparison you enjoy, or that you kind of backlash against, that it's a little MOBA feel?
No, we don't mind it at all. I mean, the things that we like certain aspects of MOBAs a lot, and one of the things we like the ability system, which we obviously borrow from them. We also like the positional play. So the fact that you've got your gunners maybe, and your support, and you've got your tanks, and how you position those on the field really matters. What differs is that once you get into the game, you find you really need to split those apart, and you're managing them all. And just the fact that you as a player are managing all 3 of them, you're doing your whole team as a MOBA, very different experience, very different feel from it.
Yeah, I definitely agree there, because you end up doing the RTS thing of, oh, okay, I'm sending this guy up to this corner to capture vision. This guy's going to run around and just kind of take a couple pot shots to disrupt the player. Meanwhile, the other guy's healing. So you do have the mechanics of you're still moving around, bouncing around of those guys. And the other thing is, I don't want to gloss over the progression. You mentioned there's abilities, but they upgrade, and then there's also metagame. So let's talk about a little bit of the meta upgrading system. So you get to choose those abilities before you go into the battle. How crucial is that during play and tournament play?
So it's a big part of the game. And in our tour of RTS Deconstructed, what we basically did is we took the tech tree and we put it into the ability system. So what you're doing is you're taking your base rigs and then you're putting gear on them. And when you put that gear on, that actually defines all the abilities you're going to have in the game. So we have a lot of balance levers for those, and there's a whole meta game of seeing if you can exploit those balances that we put in. But you're choosing the abilities that you're going to play with. Can you choose stuff that fits your skills very well? Can you fit something that fits the pattern of play that you want to do? If you put an ability on that's going to unlock at a really late level, you need to be sure you're actually going to plunge that level in the game. Otherwise, you'll never see it.
And I hope we can show this with the footage we got, but there's really important positioning elements as your play style may be, where if I run in and drop a heal, I could actually heal my opponent whereas if I positioned him better, it's just healing me while I'm taking all these shots on him. So is that a lot of the abilities where you see that skill set?
So one of the interesting things is that the basic rules of the game we think are very simple and they're very straightforward, but there's a lot of complexity. Anytime we come up with something that someone wants to do that's complex, we say, well, let's put it in the gear or let's put it on the map. So that's an example of, you're talking about a heal that can heal your enemies as well. It was an idea from design. It's like, well, let's just put it in a piece of gear. Now it's a player choice. It's interesting. We can buff that heal more. It's more powerful, but it takes more skill to play it. And so that's another balance lever. More powerful, but more skill to actually deploy well.
All right, so Dropzone is actually coming free to play, so we're going to have to unlock all this stuff, right? So that's going to be the most progress, is unlocking the different pilots and then all the abilities?
Well, hopefully you get to unlock them and it's fun. I mean, we don't come from free to play, so it is important to us as players that it's fun to actually do. That if you're someone who has a lot of time, that you can definitely get it all unlocked and it's fun to do and it's fun to progress. But yeah, what you'll be doing is you'll start out with pilots that have a bunch of default gear, and they should be very viable with that gear. We try to get them to synergize well and they're competitive. But then you can go and you can suit your play style by getting additional gear from drops, additional pilots, and then you get more and more choice about what you're taking in.
All right, Dropzone's looking great. Of course, I'm a sucker for sci-fi RTS stuff, but you know, the big question then becomes, when can we get our hands on it?
So we're in closed beta now. Obviously, getting a lot of people hands-on here and giving out closed beta keys. We hope to be in open beta by the end of the year, but it may fall into 2017, and then it'll be wide open.
All right, look for our closed beta keys for you guys for Dropzone coming soon. Thanks so much, Jason.
Thank you.